ready to go?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hey, this is Scott with Leading Edge Archery. Hey, we're going to kind of wrap up our 2020 elk season with Cody Surber. Cody is a young man that I took on a 31-day hunt, actually, which was amazing. He actually lasted the whole time. Did a pretty good job.
I tried my best.
Yeah, he's a young guy, but we're blessed that he's homeschooled, which allowed me to kind of take him out of class for about a month. But he had to work a little harder to get his studies done earlier so he could spend the whole time in the mountain with me. So it was a great experience because he got a chance to not only guide a little bit, and he learned how to hunt elk, learned how to call elk. And I wanted to kind of recap his season, my season, because it was a tough one. It was probably the toughest I've had in, since I can remember. We actually struck out this year with about 6 different guys, including myself, but we had some great encounters. We want to talk through some of that stuff, get his perspective as a true rookie elk hunter, and see what he thought about it. So, first of all, we took off from Texas, and we spent to go look at a new property that was right on the border of New Mexico and southern Colorado, and an incredible place. We seen some incredible animals in the first. I think we spent 5 days hunting there.
Yep.
I think it was. We went 5 days hunting there, and then we went and broke camp and went over to Pagosa Springs to help out some friends of ours, and helping them call and work our tails off to help those guys get a bull. But those first 5 days, man, what did you think right away?
I loved it right away. Just being out there obviously is awesome. I don't think we heard many bugles the first 5 days at all.
No.
It was super hot. There was a lot of sign, a lot of bull sign. And I don't even think we saw an elk in the first 5 days though.
Well, we called that one in. We did
call one in.
We had one encounter, yeah. So he already forgot about it because he doesn't want to think about it.
Yeah, forgot about that.
But no, we didn't see a whole lot of animals, didn't hear a lot of animals. The elk were extremely shy. It was hot. They were really quiet. But we seen a lot of good sign where we were hunting. What we found out about this area, we think a lot of the bulls actually live there. They summer there. Very little cow sign, very little calf sign. So I don't think it's a big calving ground. Where the cows are coming in to raise their young in the summer. So, but a lot of good sign for bulls. There were rubs everywhere, a lot of good travel routes, bedding areas. But we noticed as soon as that rut starts to kick in any way, shape, or form in the month of September, these elk had scattered and went over to adjoining properties where all the cows were. And we ended up finding them later on that time. But yeah, I want to talk about, we actually got really lucky one morning. We called in a bull kind of like late in the morning and did an initial set, and the bull got quiet on us. So I thought it was over, went back up to find Cody, and come to find out, look across the field, and this bull's running full tilt. And so when he was, I panicked, took off to start the calling again, and as I was running back, I was hitting the bugle tube, and he was answering on every time. And then we had to really kind of rush, and in a perfect situation, you don't want to rush like that. So we ended up setting up what we thought would be a perfect scenario. It gave Cody probably 100 yards downwind, which is exactly where we thought the elk would come up. And this kid could shoot 100 pretty easy. And the elk ended up going the other way. Ended up going north of us and going upwind, which was just really weird. And he had a tree line behind him. But why don't you talk about your perspective? What happened?
Basically, I heard the elk probably within 120 yards when he got to the bottom of the hill, and he came up, and I started to see his tines, and I drew back, and at that point all I saw was just his tips, so just his fronts and his crown and his beams, and then didn't see him for the rest of the time. Didn't see him cross the road. He crossed maybe 18 yards behind me and looped all the way back up around, and it's crazy because an animal that big you can't hear come in, and
yeah.
He was within an 80-yard radius of me the whole time.
Well, I know that one time when he got as close to you, he was probably around 30 yards.
Oh yeah.
Roughly when he came across the road.
And I couldn't see him. He's up.
You couldn't hear him.
Yep. Couldn't.
Yeah, he one of the first things he told me was amazing, that he said this animal, as big as they are, when he jumped the fence, he couldn't hear him. It was pretty cool. So when he blew out, he came by me at about 30 yards, 40 yards, and 50 yards, and Scott had no bow, which was really stupid because I got a tag. So that was his first encounter ever, and I think it was pretty exciting. When he came by me, I was looking for blood, and we couldn't find any. But
that was actually our second encounter.
What was that?
That spike bull. With the big 360 bull, we forgot about him.
Yeah, that's right. We'll talk about that one because that was all you. You've seen everything.
Yeah, so this herd of elk flooded out into a meadow, and there was a big, we called him 48 square because he had probably 48-inch beams and 48 inches wide with a spike bull in his group. So he had about 8 cows, a spike bull, and then the herd bull. And, he was screaming his head off, and he came in, running in, and as soon as he left the herd, he looked back and the spike bull was trying to peel off all his cows from the herd. And at that point, I mean, he wouldn't commit at all because he just didn't want to lose his ladies. So
yeah, we got kind of messed up on that one too, and that was a big bull. That bull was probably 360 class.
yeah, that was a really.
He was a giant, and when I was back in the back calling, I could see him. And when he was coming in, I thought this kid's going to get a chance to shoot a world-class elk here in about 5 seconds.
Yeah.
and it just stinks because that spike ended up messing the whole thing up. He did not want to leave his cows, even though we had him on a string there pretty quick, and that was frustrating. That was really the tone of our entire hunt. We kept getting just really messed up after messed up after messed up, and could really never close a deal. So we ended up leaving there, and I wanted Cody to get a chance to go see what it's like on the calling side of it. Hey, this is what we do on the back end as a caller, trying to help our friends, get an elk. So we went to Pagosa, and man, there we worked.
Yeah.
That was a lot of work. We were putting on, I think, an average of 15 to 18 miles a day. We were carrying some crazy vertical feet, climbing mountains like nuts, and there it was tough. I mean, you got a chance to see private land versus true public DIY land.
Right.
I mean, so the number of elk we seen in conjunction was.
It was crazy. I mean, first 2 or 3 days we didn't find an elk at all. I mean, nothing. We saw one. We called in one small little branch bull. He was like a 3x3 or something.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's it. A lot of mule deer. There's a lot of mule deer out there, but and even then there was private land that butted up against the public and bulls screaming their head off over there, but nothing on the public. Just because of pressure and they know. But yeah, that was way more aggressive country. Had a lot more room to move around, so we got to hunt how we wanted, which is a lot cooler.
Yeah, about the 4th day, we ended up talking to a game biologist that came by camp, and he had made a comment, we're probably hunting too low. That's all he would tell us. So, I knew there was a really good mountain up there, so we went over to the base of it and decided to make the walk. It ended up being about a 4-mile walk in, and 2 miles of that was vertical, about carrying 1,700 vertical feet, and I mean, it was about, 39, 37 degree slope. Pretty steep.
Yeah.
Tough hike, but when we got to the base of that mountain, we ended up spotting a really good herd bull. And at the time, we thought it was 5 or 6 cows. It ended up being 40?
Oh, he had 40 cows.
He had hit the mother load on the top of that mountain, and we went up there. It took us about 2.5, 3 hours to get up.
Yeah, we rock climbed it the first time.
And the first time, Cody and I decided to take a hard way around what we thought would be a shortcut. Ended up being a rock climbing adventure, which was awesome, though. Would you agree?
That was really cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. I told him a couple of times, don't look down.
Yeah.
But yeah, we ended up getting to the top and ended up spending the afternoon there, kind of having a siesta, eating lunch, and just camping out. And then that evening got on a really good bull that was really hot. And public land hunting, unfortunately, is something you got to deal with because it's called public for a reason. We ended up getting over to the edge of this bowl, and unfortunately, we go over and we're starting to cow call and getting the bull's attention, and we've got a public land muzzleloader to deal with, and he's on a horseback. So it really sucked. I was, and a good lesson for Cody. We have, I get the group together and tell the guys we got 2 choices. We can either, fight battle the calls here with the other hunter, or we can go ahead and commit and get down into the bull, kind of show our dominance to take over the situation. We felt like we had been there probably the longest and felt a right to that animal.
Already tried waving him off and everything.
Exactly, and he wouldn't take off. So we went down and, if you ever hunted the bull before, the winds swirl. So it wasn't what I wanted to do, but we were our hand was forced, so we dropped down into the bull, and I got down in there and let off a pretty big bugle, pretty shrieking bugle. I did it pretty aggressively because I wanted to get that hunter's attention, let him know we're there. And actually it worked out because he ended up getting quiet. So I think he vacated the area. Heck, he might have stayed up there and watched us for all we know. But he let us, control the hunt from that standpoint. So Cody and I got set up, and Cody got a chance to really sit with me on a live action calling sequence where we got bulls committed. We've got elk committed to the calling. And I thought it was pretty cool, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was awesome. And that bull was screaming his brains out.
Oh, yeah.
It was echoing all across the side of the bull we were in.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think one thing that you probably noticed is that how quick we may have to move in situations.
oh, yeah. I mean,
Because
they
I know
covered ground like crazy.
Well, one time, where the bull was and where I wanted him to be, I told him we got to go, and we were sprinting.
Yeah, in
through the
snow.
woods, in snow, just hauling the freight, and I'm calling while I'm running to try to get that bull position. Because in elk hunting, when you get a really hot bull like this one was, they close so much ground so fast, and you've got to move fast and not worry about being quiet at that point in time. And we ended up getting back, and that bull was coming on a string. Our middle hunter, Anderson, had the best shot opportunity. Had him at 103, I think it was. But like everything, Cody and I are sitting there in our calling sequence, and all of a sudden we feel the wind on our back of our neck. And you know, you sit there and please, please, please don't do this. And the bull smelled us right away. He got stupid quiet, and Anderson said he wheeled off and took his cows and took off. So that one sucked. That was a tough one to swallow because we had that bull. I thought he was going to be dead.
In a hard hike.
And a crazy hard hike. So we spent, the next 2 or 3 days. Actually, this young man went back up that mountain with Anderson by himself. Why don't you talk a little bit about what happened on that one?
So Anderson and I went right up the gut that time. We didn't do any rock climbing. And we watched the bull we were after feed across the side of the mountain with all his cows, which happened to be like 40 cows and one spike bull. And there was actually a muzzleloader behind us. We could hear him bugling, and he wouldn't wave off. So we kept going to the top, waited for the wind to switch, the thermals, and eased around the edge of the bull, dropped our packs and everything, because we were gonna initially try and kill him just silently, no calling at all. And we ended up taking our boots off, putting a stalk in on him, and the muzzleloader started lighting up at the mouth of the bull, right where all the wind's pushing through.
Yeah.
And then a spike started feeding our way with 3 cows, and he was maybe 60 to 80 yards under us. I mean, you could have killed any of them. So we had to literally sneak down, hunker, and just stop and wait for them to feed by us. And by then, the muzzleloader had literally pushed a whole entire herd of elk all the way down into private. So me and Anderson were pretty dumb, and then our socks went another 1.5 miles to a 42-degree slope on the backside, where we found the bull.
Mind you, no shoes on.
No shoes, yeah. In the snow, I mean, freezing cold. And there was like 3 or 4 bulls down there screaming their brains out, but they were all on private. And, I mean, we went halfway down the backside, nothing. It just blew him all the way out. He would respond, but he's down there with his cows, and he wasn't coming back up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that was a tough one. I mean, I know your guys' feet got tore up pretty bad.
Oh, yeah, because our socks were soaked, so we took them off when we got back to our boots and packs and hiked down the mountain, all downhill.
4 miles.
Yeah, with no socks, just boots, which tore our feet up pretty good.
Viewers, don't ever do that.
Yeah.
It's stupid. So, but a good lesson learned though, and I mean it was awesome because they got on those elk a second time. So that afternoon, Cody and I took off to go back to our original area where we were meeting another buddy of ours to start our last 2 weeks of the hunt. And we got back. Cody and I were supposed to take a day off to rest and try to recover a little bit. That ended up not happening. The guy ended up being a day early, so we had to go straight into camp and get right after it. And I'll tell you what, for 2 weeks, we ended up watching a good herd of about 20 elk, 25 elk. Believe it or not, though, with 8 bulls in there, and all the bulls well over 330 inches. One bull we know well over 400, and just
big
a bunch of
360s.
360s. Really big 7x8. So, we ended up spending the rest of that time, man. It was just tough calling, getting some encounters here and there. We had another bull at Cody, another heartbreak bull. He called this place Heartbreak Corner. Right?
Where all the elk hunt.
And how close was that bull we caught in there?
14 yards. 14 yards.
It's amazing how big they are and how they can hide behind a tree.
Yep.
1,000-pound animal. But he learned. I mean, he learned what elk hunting is about and how tough it is. And I'll tell you, it was an experience of a lifetime. I told Cody, he's first ever elk hunt. You got a chance to see and operate with elk bugling and communicating and talking more than you probably will in any other time in your career.
Yeah, we had one morning where we had at least 11 to 12 bulls constantly. Every time we bugled, they'd respond. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was really cool.
But on top of that, didn't it get a little frustrating?
It definitely got frustrating because they were so active, but it's like they knew the fence line was there and they did not want to come to us. They're pretty lazy elk. They kept just feeding that big circle.
Oh, yeah.
It took them about a day or 2.
Yeah.
And you could, we saw so many shooter bulls.
Yeah.
So.
Well, what really sucked in that situation, so we're kind of landlocked because of a fence line and private land. Actually, New Mexico. We didn't want to get over into that. Of course, we can't. And it sucked because I told every one of the guys we're with, if we could close 200 to 300 yards, get in within that magic window of that under 200 yard in the back in their bedroom,
to where we're a threat.
We're a threat. I start hard bugling, start getting really aggressive with it. We probably would have killed a bull every day, honestly.
Yeah. Every hunt, almost.
Almost every hunt. I would just about guarantee it. Without us being able to close that distance, we're a non-threat to that herd. And every once in a while, about once every 3 or 4 days, I would get one to commit to come over. So we ended up having encounters, but they were very, very few and far in between. So
the wind on that side was hard to play. We tried everything with the wind on that side.
Wind was tough, so it was just a tough hunt, but I think a very satisfying, a very good hunt.
A lot was learned on that hunt.
Yeah, I mean, you learned. I mean, honestly, you got 4 years worth of education in one hunt in
Pretty
2
crazy,
weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was pretty awesome. I mean, I think he's hooked though.
Oh, 100%. I'll be back next year, without a doubt.
Will you miss any time
No,
soon?
no.
Yeah, he'll be out there. You know, one of the things I like to do is I like to take some of these young guys, teach them how to the calling techniques that we have, the hunting techniques, and learn how to hunt these animals, and then they'll be able to take what I taught and come up with their own stuff to make them a better hunter, make them more successful. Because I tell you, one thing about elk hunting, I'm not a know-it-all. I think even you talk to some of the best guys out there, they're not a know-it-all. You learn something on every single hunt. Heck, I even started to question my calling abilities because I could not get some of these elk to commit what they wanted, whether they wanted to be, bugled at or cow called. And it was tough, very tough.
Right. I think there's a general rule of thumb for elk hunting, but that changes every year, I bet.
Yeah.
There's no, we're going to do this, this, and this, and we're going to call an elk.
Right.
It changes so much. We even tried different calling sequences on different bulls, and it changed the way they responded, different cow calls and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. It was an amazing time. But, man, I just wanted to make sure and let you kind of recap our 2020. It was tough, but we had an amazing time out there. Encourage you to get out, take someone with you. If you're a seasoned elk hunter, take someone who's never hunted before. Help spread the wealth of information and get them out there. Like we've got a new young man that's going to, you're 17, and he's going to be a lifelong elk hunter now for
sure.
probably the rest of his life. Won't have to wait until you're 40 like me to start, which was stupid. So anyways, take someone out there, get your butt out there and elk hunt. I am already training right now for next season.
Oh yeah, both of us.
Started last week. I take a couple weeks off, but now back in the gym, back on the road, running my brains out. Because right now we've got 10 and a half months actually before next elk season. It'll be here before you know it. Actually, we'll be putting in for tags in January. January,
We'll be
February.
scouting before that.
Yeah, only 3 months away. So, other than that, man, appreciate you going with me.
Yes, sir.
Did you have a good time?
For taking me. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was amazing. So, with that, tune in. We got some really cool videos coming out in the future here. Target Archery actually is starting to ramp up. We've got indoor archery season starting up. Actually, in Texas this month. We've got some big tournaments around the corner in November and December and January coming up. And, with the COVID stuff, it looks like some of the organizations are still going to shoot. So look for some upcoming videos on, getting your target bow tuned up and ready for indoor season. I know he loves indoor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. got the
favorite.
Vegas shoot, and his kids shoot. So you can follow us and watch us on YouTube. We're going to be doing a lot of cool videos around that target archery season coming up. If you're out there whitetail hunting, I think you got mule deer, whitetail, and coos deer coming up this fall. Or if you're out there rifle hunting for elk, good luck to you. Hope you have a great, successful season, and we'll be in touch.